Everyone, welcome to today's session. So today we'll be talking about brand list, under the canopy of PCI DSS. And what does it mean? First, it says that it's a list maintained by payment brands such as Visa, Master, or American Express that includes providers who have been assessed and certified as PCI DSS compliant. That's why you have the word brand list, right? And it's also used by customer to verify PCI DSS compliant of their vendors. Being on that list means that the vendor has met the necessary security standards to protect cardholder data. Because even just going through that list, if you're trying to look for a vendor, that even serves as a guideline, right? And even when you go to the federal marketplace, you should be able to see those services that are already federal compliance. So likewise, if you already have that, at least it actually serves as some form of trust. Even though there are cases where organization will also want to, perform due diligence and also to request certain artifacts, but just having that listed at least it gives you some form of assurance rather than thinking of going with a vendor that do not, and then, all the headache, the hurdle of trying to get info, right? Rules of the list, customer use the list to verify PCI DSS compliance of their vendors, right? And it shows that the vendors actually met PCI DSS compliance. But using the payment brand list for PCI DSS, what if there's a case where there's an insufficient evidence? It says that if the vendor appears on the payment brand list and the service or services applicable to the customer are included in the assessment, that list may be sufficient evidence because it's already in scope. If that's something capture what you all are doing, and that's why applicable to the customer, then that might actually suffice. And consider the fact that the vendor is already in compliance with PCI DSS. For example, a payment processor that handles cardholder data and appears on the payment brand list can be considered PCI DSS compliant, assuming the scope of their assessment covers the customer's requirements. But let's look at a situation where there's lack of clarity. If it's not cleared from the list whether the vendor services are relevant, right, or applicable to the customer as covered in that assessment, then additional confirmation is needed. Because remember, we spend a lot of time talking about scoping and all those things. So you want to know, is this something that really applicable to us? Is it like what we are trying to achieve? If yes, then what their listing might suffice. But if not, we might take further step. For example, say a cloud provider is listed on PCI DSS compliant, but it's unclear whether their data storage services for card data are included in the scope of the assessment. The customer must then request written confirmation to verify that, right? Then, but what if that services impact data security? Remember, I started talking about the impact, right? It can result to a potential impact. But in a situation where the vendor services directly impact the security of cardholder data, for example, if they are storing, if they are processing, or if they are transmitting sensitive data, then the payment brand list alone is not enough evidence. You understand? It cannot be. In the case, because this one is like serious impact, they are definitely impact data security. So customer will also need to ensure that the applicable PCI DSS requirements are covered in the vendor's assessment. For example, a cloud service provider that hosts cardholder data must show not only that they are on the payment brand list, but that their services such as encryption and data storage are included in their PCI DSS assessment. Also, let's look at PCI DSS of the AOC, that's the Attestation of Compliance. So, but if the vendor has an attestation of compliance, the customer can request to also verify which services are included in the vendor PCI assessment. Say, for example, a cloud provider on the payment brand list is asked to provide. Remember, if we want to ask like pull the confirmation or request more evidence, then the cloud provider is asked to provide their attestation of compliance to show that their data storage services that is impacting the customer data is also part of the DSI or PCI DSS compliance assessment. These are pretty much clear, right? And looking at the verifying vendors compliance, first check if they are listed on the payment brand list. If so, you want to check how applicable and relevant they are or within scope of what you all do. If not, then you might also take further step by requesting, written confirmation or, if possible, attestation of compliance. But what is the takeaway here? A payment brand list may be enough for confirming that the vendor is in compliance, but if it's not cleared, as we'll discuss, if it's not applicable to what a customer needs or their needs, then further action might be taken when they might request a confirmation or pretty much the attestation of compliance. Always request written confirmation from the vendor if the list is uncleared. So that makes sense. And then the next session, where we go on what is business as usual. By now, we already know business as usual. Just talk about operations, right? So I'll see you guys in the next video. Do not forget to like, subscribe, and put your comment in the comment section. Share with your friends and family. And I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.